Welcome everyone to the Library of Iron and Ash, where we read stories from monster hunters and the magical prey they pursue. For this episode, we pick back up on our hunter, deeper into the hunt for the missing boy. I hope you enjoy.
Chapter 2. What fire leaves behind. Fire is honest. It does not pretend to be anything other than hunger given shape. It consumes, it spreads, it leaves nothing untouched. When people say fire cleanses, what they mean is that it removes what they no longer want to look at. Ash tells stories if you know how to read it. I left Caron Fort before dawn, while the village still slept in uneasy pieces. Fog clung low to the river, thick enough to hide footsteps, but thin enough to carry sound. I moved slowly, keeping to the tree line. The strip of cloth from the boy's shirt folded carefully inside my breast strap, where it could warm and release its scent. Trist waited for me, where the road gave up, pretending it went anywhere useful. "You're certain it wasn't the drake?" he said as soon as he saw me. "Certainty is a luxury, ideal in likelihood." "I'm certain something else touched him," I replied. "And I'm certain it lives north." Trist grimaced. "That marsh hasn't been right in years." "Marshes are rarely right. Water remembers too much." We walked in silence for a time, following a path that only existed because enough people had once been afraid enough to carve it. As the ground softened underfoot and the trees thinned, the smell changed. From pine and damp earth to rot and old water. The marsh announced itself before it appeared. Insects returned here. Too many of them. A constant, droning cloud that pulsed and shifted like a living thing. Birds circled but did not land. Reeds whispered even when the wind did not move. That is why monsters that burn are feared more than those that tear. I knelt and pressed my hand into the mud. Cold. The drake's territory had been warm. Even hours after death, heat lingers where fire creatures live. This place was different. This place drank warmth. Trist stopped behind me. "I'll go no farther." "That's wise," I said. He hesitated. "You'll come back?" I stood. "If I don't, tell Mera the truth. Don't soften it." He swallowed and nodded. I adjusted my straps and stepped into the marsh alone. Movement here had to be careful. Marsh ground lies by omission. It does not show you where it will fail until you are already sinking. I used my spear like a walking staff, testing each step, listening to the sound of the ground accepting or rejecting my weight. I found the trail quickly. The boy had not been carried the whole way. There were footprints at first, bare, panicked, uneven. He had run until he could not. Then the drag marks began again, deeper now, angled toward the heart of the marsh where the water pooled black and still. But the strangest thing was what wasn't there. No scorch marks, no burned reeds, no sign of heat. Whatever had taken him did not burn him. That narrowed the field more than any flame could. I reached into my pouch and drew out the cloth again, breathing in carefully. Human blood, yes, fierce wet, river mud. And beneath it, faint but unmistakable. Old iron. Not rust, not the clean smell of forged steel. Old iron soaked in water and time. Creatures that carry that scent are not born. They are made. I whispered a word softer than before, one meant not to sharpen my senses, but to dull my presence. Marsh creatures hunt by vibration as much as scent. I slowed my breathing, my heartbeat, my steps, until even I felt like a ghost moving through myself. The ruins rose out of the fog like broken ribs. Stone arches leaned at impossible angles, half swallowed by water and moss. Carvings once meant to honor something had been eroded into warnings. This place had been built by men who thought walls could hold back hunger. They were wrong. I circled the ruins slowly, keeping to higher ground. The water within the broken courtyard was still, dark, reflective. Too reflective. A skin stretched tight over something deeper. Then I saw the marks. Not footprints, impressions. Large, rounded depressions in the mud near the water's edge, as if something heavy had settled there repeatedly. Not pacing, not hunting, waiting. I crouched and studied the nearest mark. The edges were smooth, pressed rather than torn. Whatever made it had distributed its weight evenly. Not claws, not hooves. And there, near the center, a faint spiral pattern in the mud. A sign I hadn't hoped to see. Wending mark. Wending spirits are not spirits in the way priests mean. They are flesh-bound things that learned long ago how to slip between states. They live in waterlogged places where boundaries blur. Marshes, bogs, drowned ruins. They do not burn. They draw heat, strength, breath. Children are easiest. I tightened my grip on the spear. If it was a wending, fire would do nothing. Steel would do little. Magic would cost more than it usually does. And time would not be on my side. I laid my pack down and began preparing carefully. No traps that relied on force. No pits. No fire. Instead, I carved a circle in the mud with the spear's butt, wide and shallow. Into it I pressed powdered salt, chalk, and filings shaved from my own armor. Iron knows iron. It remembers. I placed 3 stakes at equal points around the circle, each etched with a binding glyph I'd learned from a man who'd lost his left arm teaching it. Then I took the cloth from the boy's shirt and tied it to the central stake. Bait is a cruel word, but cruelty does not stop predators. I stepped back and waited. The marsh grew quieter. Insects thinned. Reeds stilled. The water in the courtyard rippled once, slowly, as if something beneath it had shifted its weight. Then the surface broke. It rose not in a rush, but in a slow, deliberate unfurling, water streaming from a body shaped too much like a man to be mistaken. Its skin was pale and slick, stretched thin over elongated limbs. Its face was wrong in subtle ways. Eyes too wide apart, mouth set too low, as if assembled by someone who knew humans only from memory. It smiled. Wendings always do. It stepped onto the mud without sinking. That was the first lie. The second came when it spoke. You followed, it said, voice wet and echoing, like sound traveling through a tunnel of bone. I track, I replied. Following implies choice. It tilted its head. The child chose. I felt something tighten behind my ribs. I did not let it reach my hands. "Release him," I said. The Wending smile widened. "He is lighter now." Magic stirred in the circle, reacting to the creature's presence. The iron filings darkened, drawing toward it like filings to a lodestone. The Wending stepped closer. It crossed the circle. The wards flared. The creature hissed as if burned, not by heat, but by memory. Iron remembers blood. It remembers chains. It remembers nails driven through hands and hung over water. The Wending recoiled, form flickering, edges blurring like a reflection disturbed by a thrown stone. I did not hesitate. The spear came up, not to thrust, but to pin. I drove it down through the creature's shoulder, anchoring it to the mud inside the circle. The rune along the blade ignited, not with flame, but with cold, the kind of cold that steals breath. The Wending screamed. The sound was not loud. It was deep. It vibrated through the water, through the ruins, through my bones. The marsh answered. Water surged toward the circle, trying to reclaim what was trapped. The wards strained, iron filings smoking as they resisted. I pulled the small knife from my belt and cut my palm. Blood fell into the circle. Magic always wants payment. The circle held. The Wending thrashed, its form losing cohesion, limbs stretching and collapsing as it tried to slip between states. "You do not belong here," it rasped. "Neither did the child," I said. With my free hand, I reached into the water beside the circle and closed my fingers around something solid. A small arm. I pulled gently. The Wending screamed again, and this time there was something else in it. Loss. The body came free, pale and still. The circle shattered. The wards failed all at once, iron filings scattering into the mud. The Wending dissolved into the water, leaving only ripples and the smell of old iron. Silence returned, slow and heavy. I knelt in the mud, breathing hard, and closed the child's eyes. He was lighter now, but not gone. I wrapped him carefully in my cloak and began the long walk back toward the river, the marsh parting reluctantly beneath my steps. Behind me, the ruins sank back into quiet. Somewhere deep in the water, something watched me leave. It would remember. So would I. Fire leaves ash, water leaves ghosts, and some hunts do not end when the monster dies. They end when the world allows you to walk away, to be continued.
For more content like this, please be sure to like, follow, and subscribe.